Hey there, crescent biology students. We are going to do some plant cell coloring today. And so go find your plant cell coloring page and crayons or colored pencils. I'm going to get started right away, and I'm going to start with number 1, which is the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is has a phospholipid bilayer with proteins in it, just like the phospholipid bilayer of an animal cell. They're exactly the same in structure. Oop, this little guy gets in the way just a little bit there. We'll slide him out of the way. Oop, and the orange broke. Yikes. The next part that I'm going to be coloring is number 6. And so around the outside, you will notice number 6 is the cell wall. And the cell wall is going to have a lot of cellulose in it. And this is what's going to give the plant structure. In human bodies and a lot of mammals, they use we use bones to give ourselves structure. The plants are going to use cellulose. And again, whoop, we're running in, poking him around a little bit there. They're going to use a cell wall. And so this is the cellulose, and that cell wall is going to give the plant its ability to stand upright. Eventually that would turn into bark of a tree, cork, the cell wall. Then we're going to go ahead and color number 3, which are the mitochondria. And one thing that I think sometimes surprises students is that there are mitochondria inside of plant cells. But remember, we said all cells have a mitochondria. So that means that even the plant cells are going to have a mitochondria. Now, maybe I've gotten them all. Nope, one more over here on this side. And so when we think back to what's happening, we need to get the same things into the mitochondria that we talked about needing to go into the mitochondria, and we need to get some things out of the mitochondria. But their purpose is to produce ATP. So I'm just going to put that right in there because these plant cells need energy as well in the form of ATP. Now, the kind of cool thing about a plant cell is that it's going to have these great big vacuoles inside of them. And I'm going to color this a light blue, like the instructions say. And part of the reason for coloring it light blue is because most of what it holds is water and whatever is dissolved in that water. And the vacuole was called a vacuole because when we first looked at it under the microscope in the 1800s, 1600s, 1700s, we thought that it was just empty space, but in fact it is filled with water. So it is a giant storage space for water. And then we're going to sneak into do number 2, which is inside of the nucleus, and number 2 is the nucleoplasm. So if we go in on the nucleus here, this is the place where there's a phospholipid bilayer right there. That phospholipid bilayer is protecting number 5. Number 5 we're going to find out is the chromosomes, and that's where the DNA is. And what's kind of cool, so as we're coloring this nucleoplasm here, the fluid that is around the DNA, this is also held in by a phospholipid bilayer. And so when we think back to that structure, it's got phospholipids and proteins as a part of it. Now I've got brown here next. That must be the nucleolus, number 7. The nucleolus is going to be responsible for making the ribosomes. And we will notice that there are lots of ribosomes. I believe they're number 11, so those are colored purple. And the nucleolus builds the ribosomes, and then they leave through pores out into the nucleus. So we're just going to color, this is, I think, a purple. Oh, get out of the way there, little purple guy. We're going to color those little ribosomes. And so proteins are going to be made out here because plant cells also make proteins, so many kinds of proteins. Ultimately, they become like chlorophyll and many of the parts of the cell membrane. that are made out of proteins. Oh, I forgot. Don't look over here. See these? Look at all those ribosomes, 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 ribosomes. I don't even have enough ribosome words to be able to say all the ribosomes that there are. So you get the idea there. These are protein-making structures. Okay? And then we go, we're going to do number 5 next. And number 5 is gray chromosomes. And I don't really have a gray, so I'm going to go with a kind of purpley color here. And these chromosomes are DNA, and we'll talk more about DNA at a different time. But the DNA, remember, has the code, and then that code changes into RNA, and then it leaves and it goes out there to those ribosomes. Now, what's kind of cool is that this is attached onto the endoplasmic reticulum, which is number 10. And over here, this is the rough ER, and the ER is pink. So I'm going to color that pink behind the ribosomes. And you can make yours look better than mine is. And number 9 is also endoplasmic reticulum. And the ER is in charge of transporting things around the cell. So this is kind of like a highway space. And number 12 is the Golgi apparatus, and that is going to be a dark, dark blue. And so this Golgi apparatus is then where they get packaged and made. The proteins, if you remember, they have a primary structure, which is a straight line, and then they get folded into a secondary structure, and ultimately they get joined with other proteins and joined into a tertiary structure. And so this is the Golgi packaging center of the plant cell. And a lot of these structures are the same as the structures that we would find in animal cells, but they're also in plant cells. I think one difference so far we've seen is number 4, the vacuole, and the other difference is the cell wall around the outside. Now, I think if I've done this right, we only have 2 parts left to talk about. And one is the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is going to be, the vacuole. Oh my gosh. We are talking about chloroplasts. And so number 8 is our chloroplasts, and it's kind of a greenish color right there because chloro means green. Now keep in mind that there can be chromoplasts inside of plant cells, and chromoplasts would be something that is a different color. Chroma meaning color, and chloro meaning green. So I'm going to color these 3 chloroplasts green. And then I'm going to do another one in the color down here. And I'm going to make this one sort of a pinkish color because there are some chromoplasts that are not green, but they are instead red. If we think about the poinsettia flowers at Christmas time, the leaves are actually red. The flowers are at the very, very top of it. So there are things that are called, maybe I'll just add this down here, chromoplasts in addition to chloroplasts. So the green ones over here are chloroplasts, and these are chromoplasts. And they're just different color, pick up a different wavelength of light. And inside of there's some little pancake-shaped things. You'll read about those as you go onto your reading. The other structure that is not numbered on here is the cytoplasm. And the cytoplasm we just leave in the color that it is as the background. And there's a lot of cyto, meaning, I was just pointing at the word cyto, meaning cell, plasm, meaning like a goo or a fluid. There's a lot of fluid inside of the plant cells that are there to give it structure and to hold salts and things that are dissolved within the water. There's a couple questions on the bottom down there that I'd like you to look at and see if you can answer, being thoughtful as to what some of the questions, what some of their functions are. I hope this helps give you a quick little introduction to plant cells and refresh your memory from your previous experiences.